We're live, live and alive. Come one, come all to the show, the Jungle Podcast. All right, we got some MVP votes coming in on Reddit. Glenn, survive and advance. Exactly. Ugly game, but this time of the year against a really tough SEC, against a rival SEC championship on the line. Can't be losing any of these home games. You just got to win, baby, win. I do hope we can start playing prettier soon, though. Flex our muscles a bit. Stop letting these guys hang around. Feels like we're going to get bit eventually. We'll let a couple more people get in before we get started. Bring it in, bring it in. Tell your friends, send the link around. Do a little celebrating. Go ahead and get the box score up here for everybody. Let's see, let's see. Two. Should be sharing that now. Good. All right, all right. People are coming in the chat, ready to talk some Auburn basketball on a Saturday night. Hope everybody's got their Gosling's rum or Red Mont vodka. Got Chris Thomas. Yep, casual 12 points. And I think this will be a mostly forgettable game in the future. Very ugly, very ugly. The score does not dictate how ugly it was. Give it one more minute and we'll get started. Let me know your MVP votes. I think it's going to be an easy one, but you know, I could hear arguments. Wish he hadn't had to play that good. All right, we're going to get started here. All right, we are back on the Jungle Podcast. We are coming off a 12-point victory against the hated UGA Bulldogs. This is the second meet we've had with Georgia. Close one in the first one that shouldn't have been close. Asa Newell about to tip in a bucket that could have sunk us, but it shouldn't have been ever that close. Another ugly game this time at home in the comfort of Neville Arena. We once again shot really badly 2 games in a row versus Arkansas, now Georgia at home. We have shot pretty badly. It was ugly overall, an underratedly bad referee game, some foul trouble. But luckily, Janai Broome stepped up, one of the only players that felt like they stepped up this game with 31 points and 14 rebounds. We are watching some amazing history with him. Some really nice moves in the second half. I think he scored the majority in the second half. I think maybe he had 12 in the first, the rest to make the 31 in the second. Hit some threes, hit some good under the basket moves that were through contact, which is good to see since he's been fading away with some of his shots recently. 14 rebounds. That was a huge deal. We got a lot of good offensive rebounds. It looks like we won that battle 17-14. Those felt very important on a bad shooting night. Can't believe we even got to 82. Some of that was free throws down the stretch. We shot 27% from 3. What are we doing? We're a great 3-point shooting team, probably the number 1 offense in the country, but 2 games in a row at home, we have shot really badly. It's been weird to watch. Thanks for coming in the YouTube chat, guys. We got Glenn and Chris Thomas in there. I'm sure we've got some others. We'll have some Reddit MVP votes coming in. Just another kind of clunker of a game, two in a row, but that's just what you got to do in the SEC. Glenn says survive and advance. War Eagle, that's exactly what it is. We don't have to win all of them pretty. It would have been nice to kind of have some celebratory wins here at home, but honestly, it's such a grind of the season right now. We'll just take anything. And it's a tough SEC, maybe the toughest conference all time. So hey, it's just going to be tough to pull away from teams even at home. And I know we've gotten kind of come to expect that at times from Auburn. When we're at home, it's just not happening this year, which is fine. A lot of other great things are happening. Well, I'll turn it over to Matt. What'd you think about the game? Oh crap, Matt's not. Ben, what did you think about the game? Ryan, what do you think about the game? Oh, it's a solo pod with your boy Jackson Garrett. So I hope you're used to that. If I'm your least favorite host, I am sorry, but it's gonna be a solo pod and it's gonna get weird because it's just me ranting. Thank God for the YouTube comments. Pocket watch, we jungling, baby. Yes, sir. On a Saturday night, we'll look at some of the Reddit comments here too. A little self promotion to start this podcast, which we rarely do on this one. Please go like and comment and subscribe. Please go leave a review on podcasting. And for myself personally, I've kept these lives a little separated, but I do another media job, and I put out a documentary this last week about Cajun Mardi Gras on Vice's YouTube channel. If you like Mardi Gras, if you're a Southern man, it's partially a retrospective or like an introspection on what it means to be a Southern man and what it means to be a proud Southerner. So that's, if you're that into that kind of thing, check it out. If you're into Mardi Gras, if you like a good party, check that out. If you want to know what's going on with the Cajuns, check that out. It's on Vice's YouTube channel. If you like the jungle, if you like me on the jungle, you're going to like me going and experiencing Mardi Gras. If you don't like me on the jungle and you like seeing me whipped and getting tackled, check that out because you'll get to see that in the documentary. But enough about that. We're talking Auburn basketball out here. Let's get some MVP votes in. I think it's going to be a very easy one, but we'll check Reddit real quick. We've got Awesome Tom 100, Broom easy, a point from his all-time record. Stellar day for him. He scored 31 points. It was an Auburn record for him, an SEC record for him. He scored one more, 32 at Morehead State. It would have been nice to get him that last one. I think he was hunting for that with like 20 seconds left. They just let Miles Kelly dribble out the clock. And I think Broom, if he had passed it to him, would have taken one more to get his record. But it's probably good. We just dribbled that thing out, especially against a UGA team. Maybe we'll see in the SEC tournament or something again. No reason to make them mad. I Bump Fuzz says the National Player of the Year. Yes, sir. This will be great for his statting or for stat padding. He's got a website now, apparently, from Auburn that's pushing for him to be National Player of the Year. I love that. I love when we can support our guys. I love when we're clever about it. We're not always ahead of the game sometimes in this stuff. So it's really cool to see us get a little ahead of the game and pump out there for our guys. If we can get some billboards or something for him, he deserves it. And it's good for our brand. AU Bear, legend, always loves seeing the comments, says, Broom, y'all have fun heading to the symphony. I didn't know AU Bear was fancy like that. All right, y'all guys, some of y'all are just staying at home and watching Fast and the Furious or some Terminator or Transformers or something. AU Bear is going to the symphony. Fancy guy. Put on his top hat. Ribs and Whiskey says, glory, glory to Jonai. Glory, glory to Jonai. Glory, glory to Jonai. Broome. I hope you like that one, Ribs and Whiskey. That's literally what he typed out, and I just performed it. Give me a Grammy, I think. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit more here. I think we got all votes for Broome. If you've got a vote, put it in the YouTube chat. Chris Thomas says, Broome won to get that last bucket. Yes, he did. I really feel like he was going to go for that at the end there to get that record. That was really funny. What else we got in here? Jungle for MVP. Love it. Thanks, Glenn. Really appreciate it. We love hanging out with you guys and making the podcast. Yeah, I mean, just another win in the SEC, which is good. We'll go through some more stats here. It was a big clunker of a night. Big part of it, Denver Jones, 4 personal fouls. Dylan Cardwell, 4 personal fouls. Cheney Johnson, 4 personal fouls. A little bit of a ref game. On the other side, 3 of their players also had 4 personal fouls. Matt would never like to talk about the rest, but there was a weak whistle out there, some stuff that was really, away from the ball, a lot of calls being made. The biggest one was this, uh, what should have been a no call, in my opinion. UGA player kind of started pushing a bit into two of our guys. I think it was on Denver originally. It was just unnecessary, but it wasn't, a real like pushing away, just kind of one of those casual, like, I'm going to walk through you and see what happens. The announcers were really calling out CBM as this trouble child that people kind of want to pick on to see if they can get him to blow up, to see if they can pull up a tech. It's probably in the scouting for some of them. So he just did one of these classic, I'm going to walk through you. It's not going to get called by the ref, but if you blow up too much, he's going to call something. It should have been, if anything, after reviewing it, if anything, it should have been a tech on the UGA player for trying that out, for trying to bait that kind of thing. Overall, probably shouldn't have been anything at all. But these refs, in their wisdom, decided to call, instead of a no call, they decided to call everything. They called 4 techs, I believe, on that one. If it wasn't 4, it was 3. It was definitely a double tech on Denver and CBM and a tech on the UGA player. I think there was another UGA player involved that got the tech also. So that's another reason why it builds up in fouls. There's very irritating. Denver ended up with 17 points. Some of that was stat padded by, I believe, 6 free throws. Yep, 6 for 6 free throws, I think, all down the stretch when UGA was fouling to try to stay in the game at the end. So really, he ended up with more like 11 and 1 of 4 from 3. A little disappointing from him. Good defense. Started out kind of strong, but was on the bench for a good amount of time. There was just some silly fouls early that then, when on top you get these technicals to add up, it really hurts. Of course, I don't know if I said it well enough, but clearly, Janai Broom is the MVP. 31 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists. There was a lot of talk about him being a point center, throwing some really crazy, amazing assists. He's the National Player of the Year for the reason, or going to be that eventually in our heads. 7 of 11 from the free throw line. He had 2 misses in a row, which sucks when he does that, but overall, that's fine. 7 of 11 is fine for him. 2 of 3 from 3. That's a big deal. He was pretty inefficient to start the first half. I was ready to come on and talk about his inefficiency from 2, how it's getting a little frustrating that we don't need him to do so much back down stuff if he can't finish from 2, if it's going to be the end of a possession. And then he got really efficient in the second half from the paint, and he hit, I think, both of his threes, maybe in the second half also. So, shout out to Janai, the only guy that showed up, it felt like, today. Everyone else had a lot of trouble, a lot of missed shots, 27% from 3. This is going to be bad podcasting, but when you're solo, this is what you got to do. It's getting hot in here, so I got to take off the sweater. So give me 1 second. And we're back on the Jungle Podcast. That'd be a good place for us to put some marketing. Let us know, folks. Going down the list as well here, we got Chad Baker-Mazar. We already talked about it a little bit. He's our trouble child a bit. I believe that was 3 games in a row that he has picked up a technical. This one was pretty weak. He was kind of helping out his boy Denver. I think it should have been a no call overall, but he's like so many players that you've had in your class before in school that is always pushing the envelope. And then he gets very upset when he gets kind of an unjust call, when he kind of gets one of these borderline ones. But it's a reputation thing. The teacher's going to kind of look for you. There's a funny show, if you've ever seen it, called Summer Heights High. There's a kid on named Jonah, and he's one of these classic kids you all went to high school with or middle school with that thinks he's the class clown, or is always pushing the limit, always saying, inappropriate things. And then when something goes wrong, when somebody spills something, when something smells bad or something, it might not be his fault, but it's the first place they're going to look. And that's what the referees are doing. They've got their eye on him at all times because he's always at the center of everything. There's never a time where something goes down that he's not there. So that's kind of irritating. But at the same time, he picks up weird fouls that no one else can pick up. Tonight, he had another one. He picked up a foul on one of UGA's players where it was just a really hard screen, and he kind of forearm shivered him a bit, and CBM went flying, and it was an offensive foul. And I was like, oh boy, if that was anybody else, they're not going to go flying, and they're probably not going to call that foul. So that's just part of the game these days in college basketball a bit. He's great at picking those up. He just can't seem to figure out how to not pick them up on the other side. He's playing kind of like, soccer's rewarded it for years, that if you don't fall down on some of these, they just might not call it. And it'll be a huge deal in the game for them not to call that. And same with basketball now. If you don't flop, if If you don't overreact, if you don't argue a bit, they're not going to call it and give it to you. On the same note, Ben talks about a lot on the text, and I agree with him that Janai does not get the calls he deserves as one of the best players in college basketball, the best player in college basketball. Underneath, he's really getting roughed up. There was one in particular. There was a bad possession or two where Janai started it with the ball, and the guy was reaching in 3 or 4 times. I thought for sure this is like a classic one we've seen from our own players where it's like, man, the third time you reach in, of course the ref's going to call it. Stop reaching in over and over again, slapping the arms, and the guy's got the ball. No, the refs never called it. So he ended up just having a terrible possession because he did that like 5 times on the ball, assuming the ref would finally call a foul. Never did. So it's just annoying that he does not seem to get the foul calls he deserves. Next on the list here, Miles Kelly, 1 of 6 from 3 tonight. Not a great night shooting. I can't remember exactly what happened last game, but I believe I remember the announcers talking about how that's 2 games in a row that are bad shooting for him. Just not his night. 11 points, which is fine. 4-4 from the free throw line. Love to see it. 8 rebounds. He's been an underrated rebounder this year. So shout out to Miles Kelly. That was another thing we talked about in the text thread during the game, was that we got so lucky getting him in the transfer portal. We really didn't know what we were getting with him. I mean, if you go back to listen to our preview from like the show before the season of like what we expected from Miles Kelly, we were like, we don't really know much about him, but hey man, his stat line at UGA or Georgia Tech looked pretty good actually. Like maybe we got something here. We'll see or whatever. And there was where he's a sharpshooter. He was really hitting it, but man, when he's open, he doesn't miss. It's really something. And he, even when he's not open, when it's just, passing it around and he gets it and it's grabs and shoots it, in rhythm, it usually goes in too. So really great season for Miles Kelly so far. Just not necessarily a great game tonight. No one shot well tonight. I don't know what's happening in Neville Arena. Ryan sent a stat. I don't know if I can pull it up over here right now, but what's he got here? That we're shooting way worse at home than we're shooting away, which is just wild from everything I know about college basketball, everything we've seen from this team over the last couple of years is that our away shooting is terrible and our home shooting is way better, but not this year. This year we're having quite the opposite effect. I believe it was about 40% away, 30% from home. I don't know what it's like after this game is over, but that's what we're seeing out there, and it's really bizarre. I hope we can put some of these teams away in the future. It's, a little frustrating to watch us kind of keep it all game. We kept it between 5 and 8 point lead. Great. I mean, keeping 5 and 8 point lead, great. Like I'd much rather be leading, and we've kind of been spoiled by how great this team is that I'm like irritated with a lead, especially in this amazing SEC. And Georgia's not a bad team. They're probably on the bubble, I believe. So they might be a tournament team. The ESPN was trying to pump them up a little bit as a tournament team. I don't know if they're going to make it or not, but it's great to have the lead. We've been starting really strong. I think 3 games in a row we've started with like a 9-0 lead. At least in the Alabama game we did, and we did again this one with a 9-0 lead, and just let them come right back in. And then we just held 5-8, 5-8, 5-8, and they finally got it back down to 4, I believe, near the end with like 3 minutes left. They got it down to 4, which was really irritating because I was texting the group like, "This is what happened last game. We just let them kind of hang around and hang around. We went to back to 8, and then we came back to 5, went back to 8, and like all it takes is them to be on their 5 run and then us miss some free throws for them to pull something out that's a huge upset that we look at the end of the year. And that's the difference between being a solo champ or being a shared champ or even losing it, depending on it. But luckily, it seems like some of these other teams are going down around the league, which is going to help us. But we can't drop games like this at home, against UGA. We've still got Texas A&M away. We still got Kentucky away. We still got Bama at home. So I'm trying to get that ring. We're all trying to get that ring. So it's been tough. Wow, LSU might beat Florida tonight. That's what Mr. Beautiful says. We will see about that. Number 2, Florida. We've got 3 number 1 seeds right now projected in the SEC. I believe it's Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn. And I'm sure Bama can hang in there right there. Depends on who wins some of these games down the stretch. It's just insane year. It'll be really irritating to see some of these SEC teams in the NCAA tournament if we get there, if we have to play some of them in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, or in our year, if somehow we lose in the Elite 8 or some other further back and one of these other guys goes Final Four or wins the whole thing. I mean, that's the problem. There's like 6 teams in the SEC that could win the whole national championship. And all of a sudden, our amazing year where we're like a historically great team, they start saying it's somebody else's year. Tennessee does it. Oh, it was Tennessee's year. Florida does it. It was Florida's year. Even if we like continue this thing and get upset Sweet 16, which happens to great teams. Number 1 seeds have gone down now to 16 seeds. It's not crazy to go down in Elite Eight, even with how good this team is. So we'll keep going down the stats here a bit. Dylan Cardwell with 4 fouls. Fine. He was fine. I don't know what else to say about Dylan. Got 4 points, 5 rebounds. He was fine. Got in foul trouble. He's so big and strong and tall. Sometimes I just want him to go straight up and make them make a hard two. We've seen teams make those hard twos as well, but we've also seen them miss a ton of them. So when he kind of does this whole leaning over them, hip checking them and getting those foul calls, it can be irritating at times. It gets irritating when he takes a foul away from the basket when he's so foul heavy in the paint. But overall, wouldn't trade him for anybody. The best backup center in college basketball. I know he's starting at center, but that's really what what he's built for in this one. But good shout out to Bruce and everybody for having that starting lineup. This worked out pretty well for us this year. Todd Pettiford had a stinker. 0 of 7 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. He only got 2 points there from the free throw line, 2 of 2. I don't know what happened to Pettiford this game. He had 5 assists. That's great. He's a great passer. I don't know. He took a frustrating foul at one point where the ball got just stolen from him, and then he went foul down on the other end, which I didn't like. But I don't know. He's going to win us some games. We're going to need him in the NCAA tournament. We're going to need him to keep having these games where against the best teams he goes off. That didn't necessarily happen against Bama, if I remember correctly. But he's still one of the most talented guys on the team. So I don't know. People they have down games. I'm hoping that next game he picks it right back up. That's what's so great about this team. We have several guys on this team that can pick it up at any time. All 7 or 8 guys really that we play, other than maybe Cardwell, can kind of just accelerate in certain games and really do something great for us. So I'm still very happy with Pettiford. Just not a great night for him tonight. Let's see how many turnovers he had. 2 turnovers. There was some sloppy turnovers this game. Really only end up with 8. I'm surprised to see that on the stat sheet. 8 for us, 13 for Georgia. It felt sloppy at times. It feels like we're just not bringing that same edge we've brought to so many top 10 matchups. It's super hard to bring the edge to everything. And we've had so many great matchups this year. So, man, I could see why we'd have a little bit of a letdown. But that's part of having a great team, is that even with a game that felt like a bit of a letdown, a bit, if not our best basketball, we still beat another team. So that's good. I wish we could have gotten some rest minutes for some of these guys. We've really shortened the lineup a bit with who plays the heavy minutes. Let's see who we've got minute-wise on here. Ooh, Chaney Johnson played only 11 minutes this game. That's kind of crazy. But, I mean, Janai Broome played 36 minutes. Miles Kelly played 36 minutes. I don't like seeing that right now so late in the season. It's just a lot of wear and tear, and we know Janai has been hurt. So that kind of sucks to see him playing so many minutes. But, hey, he had a great game. Just hoping we don't have one of those seasons where we peak too early and get obsessed with the ring. I think we saw that in the Jabari Walker year where we didn't figure it out. We didn't turn that corner. We didn't hit that next speed button we needed going into March. So we'll see if we can kind of hit that next button. Todd stepping up a bit more, that would help, but he stepped up in the past. He stepped up plenty of times this season, so it's fine. Chris Moore played some minutes out there, 7 minutes, hustle minutes, had some steals, had some good rebounds. That's what he does. No points from him or anything like that. He didn't have that open 3 situation like he's had in a couple games before that. Jaheim Hudson played 2 points from him, some hustle minutes, 8 minutes from him. It's just good to get some of these hustle minutes from those guys right now this late in the season against an inferior opponent. But, they're not really going to win us any games, in my opinion, against great teams. Last on the list here, Chaney Johnson, 4 points, 11 minutes played, 4 personal foul. Not great for Chaney. He's had foul trouble all year. He's admitted that several times, that he wants to do his usual thing where he scores, plays well, except for he doesn't want to foul. And he's had foul trouble all year long. I don't know how to diagnose him foul-wise very well, but this is just another example of him getting in foul trouble. You just hope it doesn't bite us at the wrong time. Bruce believes he has a next level. He could be one of those guys, like I just said with Pettiford, taking that next level in March. Chaney could take that next level in March. I think we've seen it. He's shooting pretty decently from 3, which we really like. And he's stepped it up in SEC play, even though his percentage isn't great this year. But I don't know. The foul trouble is really what's going to be the difference, probably. He's gotten really great in the paint, as Broome has been more tentative in the paint. Chaney's gotten more aggressive in the paint, backing people down. He's super strong for his size and really can back down people, other power forwards. So I've been impressed with him. Just something to watch if he can figure out the foul. Same stuff with CBM. Can you figure out how not to get a technical? Cheney can figure out not to be in foul trouble. Those would be great. You know? Chris Thomas says, I like that Pettiford was still getting those assists when he was struggling. Love to see that as well. Do what you can on a bad shooting night. I really don't know why we shot so bad from three this year at home. No idea. We used to joke in past years that they changed the basketballs up from Wilson's to Nikes, depending on where we're playing. And that's why uh, this year it's the exact opposite. There's some talk online. I've heard people talk about that this team thrives on the hate. This team thrives on the away fans. They step it up with the energy. You would think our home fans going off for them would be the equivalent. I don't know. Maybe it is. And if that's true, that we just keep seeing them step it up against away teams and struggling against home teams, then maybe we just shouldn't show up to March Madness. Let them have the away fans. See if that gets them going, whatever it takes to win. But we keep winning, we're what? 2 losses on the year, Florida and Duke. I think that's like the number 2, number 3 team in the nation potentially. So we're doing pretty all right. Let's look at some of these standings around here. Feel free. I guess we can look at some other stats real quick, but in the chat, let me know if you have any other topics you wish I had covered there. It's tough to solo pod. I haven't stopped talking in like 10 minutes now. It's tough to solo pod. It's tough to look up stats and kind of like figure things out without having big silences in the podcast. But I hope you're enjoying it at home. This is what happens in the SEC. Life gets busy, but I wanted to go ahead and get this up post game here. So what else we got here? 3-point shooting was bad, 27% to their 32%. Luckily, UGA also played bad, but I expect them to play bad because they're not a great team this year. I guess I can talk about Asa Newell a little bit. He scored 20 points, 3 of 6 from 3. Apparently, he's not a good 3 shooter, but he hit a lot of them tonight and kept them in the game. From what I can tell from Asa Newell, we were never going to get Asa Newell. He's just one of those players you weren't going to get. He's just like freshman NBA style. He was going to stick around Atlanta area. He's going to go to Athens or Bama or one of these other big name teams. You can just I don't know. They say I do too much vibe stuff on this podcast, but I just got the vibe from him that like he wanted to be at the big state school, and Auburn's just, we attract a little more conservative style player sometimes. I know we already just talked about CBM, who's the exact opposite, but it's hard to put your finger on where you can just tell like a guy was never going to be the kind of guy that comes to Auburn. You got to want to come to the smaller town. You got to want to work in the darkness a little bit more. And I don't think that was ever going to happen with him. He'll probably be one and done from what I can tell, but he had a great night. Very athletic guy, had some poke back dunks that were really good as well. This team would be, it's already a monster team, but if somebody like Asa Newell had come over to Auburn like we thought he might would at one point, it'd be even more monster. So it'd be incredible. And some other stats down the stretch here. Said the turnovers, points off turnovers. We won that 11-9. Won the rebounding battle. A big one was the offensive rebounding, 17-14. It felt like with the shooting being as bad as it was really important that we picked up some of those. Second chance points, 17-14 as well. Huge. Wow, one of the rare nights that we lost the bench points battle. They won 15-8. You don't see that every day for Auburn because we have some good guys coming off the bench. That was a storyline on this one that I haven't talked about yet, is that CBM started over Chris Moore. All this talk about Chris Moore taking the starting role because CBM's been hurt, and then CBM being like, oh, no, it looks like we're playing really well, so let's have Chris Moore. Oh, look, CBM. I know he's got technical problems, but he's being a team player, letting Chris Moore start out there. And people are like, you know what? If it's good for the attitude of the team, put him out there. And I think a lot of people know that it's a better team with CBM starting, like that's like the lineup you want out there. But hey, there's some talk about it's nice to have CBM and Pettiford coming off the bench. So you have these rotations where there's always some scores out there. But tonight, CBM's back in the starting lineup. I don't know how it works. I think I heard somewhere else that Bruce has been asking CBM each game what he wants to do about the starting lineup to see if he wants back in. Seems like a good strategy to me. I guess CBM told him tonight that he wanted to be back in. He looked healthy. So I guess that's probably part of the reason he went back in. Chris Thomas says, great job of the team not being obstinate, late shooting threes and pushing the ball into the post to Broom. Love it. Love to see when the shots aren't going down, that we don't just keep shooting them always. There's like 75% of the game where like, you just got to keep playing your game and those shots are going to go down eventually. And that last 25% when you're up 5 points to 8 points and they're just not going down, and Janai is having a great night where everything's going in for him and the refs are calling it when he goes down there, just feed him. and we did, which was really great. We took our open threes. You still got to take your open threes, but we didn't force anything. So that was great. I totally agree, Chris. Anita Patterson, hey, War Eagle from Utah. That was scary until late. Janai saved us. Yes, I wish Janai had not had to go off quite as much as he did tonight. But thank God for Janai. And that's why this team's so great. Without him, I don't know what this team is. And we'll have to see that next year, I guess. But without him distributing from down there with this 4 assists, without him finishing through contact when things get tough to get 31 points, without him skying everybody and getting all these rebounds, including several offensive rebounds tonight, I don't know where this team is. It's great. It was great to see in the 2 games that he was out that we could win without him, including UGA the first time. But then there's nights like this where there was no way we would have won that game without him tonight. So that's just part of this team. They stepped up when we needed them. I mean, imagine if we'd lost those 2 games. I think we all kind of thought there was a good chance we might lose those 2 games with him out. It was a ranked Ole Miss game, and I think even a ranked Georgia game too that we won without him. I believe those are the 2 games that it was. Let me know if I got that wrong. But that's huge in the SEC right now. We're up, I think, 2 games. So it's those were the games, and I think this team goes the way Janai goes, of course, but great to see that if he goes out, that it's not just one team that can, or one person that drives this entire team. Points in the paint, 38-26. Great to see. Fast break. We are just not a good fast break team. We do not finish very well on the fast break, which is odd as an Auburn team. There was one bad one I didn't like from Tahad tonight where it was him and Janai 2-on-1. Just seemed like an easy, situation to lob up to Janai. He decided he was going to finish it no matter what. He got the foul call. It didn't go in. Fine. I think he hit his 2 free throws, so it's fine. I think it was the only 2 points he got tonight. We don't seem to know what to do there. And I guess that's part of the fact that we've been such an amazing half court team. We just have not had the reps as much in the fast break, but we just do not seem to know how to finish them, which hopefully doesn't, hurt us in the future. 5-5 blocks, 5-4 steals. We had 17 assists to their 11, which was great. We were never behind in this game. We led the entire time. So that's good to see. We're still playing pretty dominant from a dominant position. Mr. Beautiful says, great passing towards the end. Yes, totally agree. Some great passing out there. It was really fun to watch. One in particular, I remember coming from under their basket, I guess you would say. Anyways, they're very good on out of bounds plays. We passed it to 2 or 3 just to work it down there to Broom. He ended up not making it, but I remember thinking, wow, what a great rotation of passes. That the end goal was to get Janai a 1-on-1 under the basket. And that's one of the best plays you could possibly have. You just don't always see that. And even when it didn't work out, he just passed right back out of it and we reset. It was fun. And then you've seen some of the other teams, or at least it feels like it from other teams, their entire objective is just get the ball in. Our objective was to get the ball in and from that, get a good look from Janai. So it's really fun to watch that. What else we got here? The Canoe Man is in. Thanks, Canoe Man, for coming. He says, nothing better than Jungle Jacks. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll have to do I was going to say we have to do a poll to see who's everybody's favorite host, but I don't want to see that. I think we have a good, vibe going amongst the hosts without having to compete with each other. Profanity. I don't know if I've seen you before. Roy Eagle, thanks for coming to Community Cardio. We've got people pouring in. Please leave some comments because it's hard to do a solo pod. It's hard not to bounce off of people. Profanity said, really like the sets at the end with Janai inbounding the ball, so others had to shoot the free throws. Denver Miles making everyone put it away. Great point. I did not realize they were doing that. You can only watch so many things. We were arguing on the podcast and in the text group. Please let Janai throw the free throws in. That's a big deal because he cannot hit them. He missed, I think, 4 in a row at Bama that really hurt, that really made me worried, And then, he missed 2 in a row this game. It wasn't terrible from him. 7 of 11 is not terrible for him. We've got a lot of great free throw shooters. They brought a graphic up on the ESPN broadcast near the end where they were showing how great our free throw shooters are. Ben's loving that. Ben's favorite thing is free throw shooting. Man, Miles Kelly, Denver, CBM is like one of the best in the whole nation. I don't know where he's at on the list, but it's got to be top 5, top 10. He had like 50 in a row at one point, which was best in the country. So who you can pick your poison on that, except for when we let Broom get it. And there was a play near the end where the shot clock didn't get started and they were starting to try to foul. They were fouling before we even got the ball in, which I find, I get it. You get to shoot your free throws, but I feel like and I know if you just hack somebody, if they just hack Cardwell, that would be like a flagrant one because it's not a basketball play. But I don't like when they can foul before the clock gets started. I feel like it's bad for basketball, and you should at least have to run off some sort of time or get an extra free throw if you're going to hack a guy before the ball even gets in under like 2 minutes. I don't know like how to change that, or if anybody even cares as much as I did. I just don't feel like it's good for basketball. But yeah, good to see Broome throwing it in. Let's get that going, because we don't want to have to, in a Sweet 16 game, in an SEC tournament championship game or something, rely on him shooting those free throws. I think he's clutch. I think he would do it, but don't put that in his hands to have to make it happen, because we have too many other great free throw shooters on this team to make that happen. Community Cardi says AU basketball has made it. Finally, we're winning by 12 and complaining. Signature success. Totally agree. Oh man, we're spoiled. We're so spoiled, winning by 12 at home and against a good or decent UGA team in a tough SEC. And we're like, oh, it's kind of ugly. Kind of ugly, huh? Wish it was prettier. Wish we had an alley-oop dunk so we could all celebrate. Wish we had shot 40% from three so we could hit one of those going in, so we could do the three goggles. We won by 12. It's pretty good. It's a tough grind of a season right now. So yeah, you're right, Community Cardio. We're complaining from a pedestal of being the best team in the country and expecting us to look like it at all times, when that's just not how it works. Canoe Man said Janai seemed to start trusting his ankle in the second half, and it is like we could see it happening in real time. Oh my God, yes, I was texting about that too. Now I'm always saying text. We really got to get that Discord going so we can all text together during the game. I know there's Reddit ones, I know there's message board ones, but the jungle special. It's better than all those, so we have to get it going with all our guys here. And I enjoy picking the game part together with all of you guys on YouTube. Even better if we did it during the game and you guys have to see how much we freak out all the time. But yeah, Janai's been doing this thing where he's like fading away from the goal, not seeking contact, kind of like Jalen Williams a bit last year, where you're like, just go into the contact, get back to doing that move where you get to your left hand, push the guy under the basket and hit with your left hand. And he did that tonight. He did a couple other ones. He had some dunks with authority tonight. I think one was in transition where he threw down one that was beautiful, that I think he's been tentative on the angle. And it was like, glad to see that he took off from so far away on that one instead of just trying to lay the ball in. He had another amazing one near the end where he was on the 3-point line, kind of pump faked a bit, or at least looked like he was going to shoot, dribble drive that thing and finished with a dunk. And we have not seen that a lot since the injury. That's so impressive for his size and from where he was when he first got to Auburn, that he can now feel confident that his 3-point shooting is such a threat that people will take a pump fake from there seriously, that he has the skills to dribble that in, and he can finish with authority with a dunk, even with an injured ankle. That was huge. Totally agree. Let's see what else we got in here. Community Cardi said, told you on the beginning of the season, Auburn would win it all. Man, I love the confidence, but I have a constant not negative. I feel like I'm being real at all times, but I rather set up a disappoint. I rather like expect lower and be happy that we did something better. And I know people are the opposite sometimes, but that's where I'm at. I rather be unexpectedly happy than unexpectedly sad. What else we got in here? Profane says they said CBM was number 10 in the country on broadcast at 91% of the season. I would love to know who else is on that list. That's crazy. I think too, hopefully they have it on there that you have to shoot a certain amount to make it on that top 10 list, probably like 90 free throws or something. I think I saw that already, but 91% on the season. That's just fantastic. And he picked up another foul from the 3 line. Would love to know what the record is for how many times you can get fouled on the 3 line and how many times you can get fouled on the 3 line and make it for getting that and 4 or shooting for that 4th score, which is just insane that he keeps picking those up. I didn't like that play. I didn't like the play from CBM, honestly. He kind of dribbled into that one. Broome was wide open. He already hit 2 threes, I believe, at that point, and CBM kind of waved him off from the 3-point line and did his own thing when he was a little frustrated. Hey, he collected the foul. I didn't like it, but whatever. That's CBM for you. It's going to happen at least once or twice a game. But this team has been so good about not being selfish with the ball that anytime I see a selfish play, it's so rare that I call it out. Pocket Watch says if LSU, Kentucky, and Illinois could somehow win tonight, but I'll take LSU. Totally agree. And the SEC's paramount. I was out and about in New York today in Midtown, which is rare for me, especially on a Saturday. So tons of Duke gear. It's like, what is going on? They must have a big game today. I wonder if they played UNC today or if I was near the Duke bar. There's a bar for every team up here. If you've been to New York, you've got to go to St. Pat's and enjoy an Auburn game there. The Auburn Club does a great job there. They've got a DJ for the other sport. They'll have some good stuff going on for March Madness. I'm looking forward to going and some beers there and watching some March Madness games there. I've had some great times. They have like a fake tumors tree we've rolled in the past. Shout out to Greg. That used to be the president. That's been great. Hopefully, I don't think he listens to the podcast, but hey, shout out to him anyways. Who else we got here? Lots of chats going. I guess it helps when I actually read them. Canoe Main says, who else thinks Janai took the lead from Flag today, National Player of the Year? I should check out that Duke game. It's in Madison Square Garden. It's Illinois today. I didn't finish that story, but I sure hope so. I hope that 31 points really pats it. It annoys me that ESPN is giving Flag all the hype because he's the NBA prospect, and they always hype up these one and done NBA guys as the number one picks. They have the NBA broadcast rights. They have the draft broadcast rights, I believe. So they're going to hype up this guy, and NBA fans are going to pay attention to see who the number one guy is. And Shania's just not that guy for the NBA. I got into an argument, I believe, on Reddit for calling out that Janai would be a number one pick 20 years ago. Maybe that's a little much, but he would still be a lottery pick 20 years ago. The game's just changed a lot. You've got to be able at his size to hit a three. There's just too many freaks in the league now for him to not be like a 35% 3-point shooter because he's not good. He's not living above the rim. He's not an athletic freak. He won't be able to quite bully the same way he does in college basketball. So it's just tough. He'll have a great overseas career. He'll probably bounce in and out of the G League for a bit, but I don't care because all I care about is college basketball. And it annoys me that we have to even talk about the difference between NBA and college basketball. That's what people like. Luckily with NIL and stuff, that's a one good thing about NIL is that we don't have to worry about this whole they're going to leave no matter what for the NBA and leave at the first glance of the NBA. And I would have been gone last year without NIL. So glad we get another year. I'm glad to see a great college basketball player. I keep saying Canoe Man here. Yep. Ben says the solo pod. I'm having fun. Out here. So Ben was going to come on with me later. I kind of just wanted to get on solo pod. It might be almost Ben time. I'm surprised I'm still on this long, but he said he might come back on around 7:25 and it's 7:20. So we'll see what happens. No pressure, Ben. Glenn says he think he was already in the lead, but I'm biased. We are biased, but I think ESPN is biased as well. So it annoys me he's not getting the love he deserves. And you've heard my whole take on that. Canoe says, I think our backcourt needs to take a small step up before the NCAA tournament to feel confident. I'd like to feel as confident as he would like heading into it. Totally agree. I'm hoping this was just a fluke that the guards played as bad as they did this game, that everybody else couldn't make a shot. I really don't know why 2 games in a row we weren't making shots out there from 3. Maybe we just aren't cutting hard enough to get these good open looks. We're playing against teams that have their tournament lives on the line, and we are absolutely spoiled that we are like potentially locked in as the overall number 1 seed, even if we lose all the rest of our games. That's what people are talking about. That's how blessed we are this year, how intense and insane this year is. I believe this game took us to 14-2 in quad 1 wins. The next best team has 8. We have 14 to their 8. So a lot of people are saying, even if we lose out, maybe not if we lose out, but maybe that's what everybody's talking about, that we could still be the overall number 1 seed. I don't know if that's true because we still have to play Bama. Florida could still sneak up there. Like some of these other number 1 seeds. I mean, they're saying there's going to be 3 number 1 seeds from the SEC. It's absolutely insane. So I just have a feeling they won't do it. But the NCAA tournament committee, they take the quads really seriously, and they don't seem to be quite as emotional as the AP voters are, where the AP voters are just, oh, you lost. You can't stay number 1. You got to move back, even though it's insane because we've already built such a resume. They just don't think about it that way. But the committee does. I've heard talk about the SEC tournament. Maybe that could change some games, but man, the committee does not take tournaments seriously. It's very frustrating. If they expand the field of the NCAA tournament, which I hope they don't, I hope it stays the same. It's already been expanded too far to some people's opinions. I do not like the play-in games. I think they're bull crap. Do not like these play-in games. I can't imagine Auburn ever being a play-in game. That'd be so frustrating. Just don't let us in. Just don't have us in if you're not playing a game. But if they do any more, we're just going to have to get rid of the SEC tournament or any of these other tournaments. It's too much. But I do love right now where it's set up, where you can have a successful season winning your regular season. You can have a successful season by winning your tournament, and you can have a successful season by going to the Final Four or Elite 8 for some teams like Arkansas under Musselman was getting so much hype for the recruiting classes and going to the Elite 8. So you can have several ways to win in college basketball, which is pretty fun. It can be frustrating when you win the regular season and your rival wins the SEC tournament, goes Final Four, and then they've also had a successful season, which can be frustrating. But I think overall, it's good for Auburn. We've had several successful seasons and banners raised and rings put on fingers because of different things like the SEC tournament and going to the Final Four. Profancy's last 4 games of the season are quad one for us, and likely every SEC tournament game will be there too. I've seen some other podcasts talk about the record set for most quad one wins in a season. I think it was Kansas 2 years ago. I can't remember what the number was. Let me know in the chat if you know what the record is for most quad one wins in a season, in a regular season, I believe was the stat. But I think we have a chance at it. I think maybe it was 18. We have 14 right now. So if there's 4 quad one wins left in the season, then we could at least tie it. I wouldn't bet on it. I think that Texas A&M game is gonna be tough. Alabama at home is gonna be tough. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of tough games. Really hope we can pull it off in Rupp for the first time since 1988. I think Bruce is gonna have the team up for it, which is and realizing how big of a thing it is. Like Kentucky's not having that great of a season. They're fine. They're ranked. They're top 25, so that's still great. But just not compared to Kentucky standards, because they have their standards insanely high, and they deserve to because of their history. But anyways, it's our best chance ever. Our best chance since 1988 or more to win in Rupp. We're the best team in the country by far. And they're fine. They're, going to be finished 5th or 6th in the SEC probably. So, this is the year. If we can't beat them in Rupp this year, we're going to have to break out some rituals. We're going to have to dig into the history books and figure out what Indian burial ground did we disturb. What voodoo doll do they have in Lexington that we didn't know about? What cigar did we smoke that we shouldn't have? What meal do we need to eat beforehand? What fire do we need? What do we need to sacrifice? Do we need to sacrifice some basketballs? Here's one, guys. I'm spitballing here. What's wrong and why we haven't won in a Rupp. Spitballing, knock down Beardy's Memorial. I'm starting to think that if we don't knock down Beardy's Memorial or play a game in Beardy's Memorial, how about that? Don't knock it down. Play a game. You've heard our cries for it. Do a retro 80s game in Beardy's. Break the curse. Is that what it takes? Break the curse. Put the Auburn boys in there in the striped up 99 jerseys. Do it for Charles Barkley's birthday. Do it, as an anniversary of something. Beat Kentucky. You've heard it here first, folks. People are really getting into it. Ben wants to be let in. I don't know if I want to let you in. I'm having a good time. I don't even see where you've requested that. Ben, did you request it? Let me know, Ben, if I'm missing on your request here. I will definitely let you in. I'll stop waxing poetic about playing a game of Beardy's or knocking down Beardy's. It's one or the other. This is great podcasting, folks. If you're at home, it's wacky season. And ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed with the presence, and he's going to shut down this wacky nonsense podcast. Oh, did I miss it? Did I not let you in, Ben? It just said let him in, and then it went away. Where's the request at? Ben, try it again one more time. Let's see. Because in the waiting room, which I'm not seeing how to let him in, is Ben Young. Ben Young the third. He's the third of his bloodline, and he's here to talk about some Auburn basketball. He says, I'm killing him. I am. I really don't know how to let you in. Try one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Ben Young, War Eagle.
And we finally did it. We finally got me in here. Wait, why am I muted? Hold on. War Eagle. I was muted when I came in. Now I'm here. Jackson, you're conspiring to keep me out of the podcast.
I was having too much fun. It was too wacky, my man. I could say whatever I wanted.
Listen, I got in here and you were spitting, my friend, talking about knocking down Beard Eves to get us the Magic to go win in Rupp. Jackson, there's some weird stuff happening in basketball tonight, but man, how good does it feel to be 25-2? We're still in the driver's seat for the regular season championship.
Crazy, man. What are we, a three game lead, 2 game lead? I guess
Two
like
game
depending.
lead. 2 game lead. Currently, Alabama is up by 7 on Kentucky at home, and
Ooh,
Florida is up only by 4 on LSU on the road. So those are going to be games to continue to watch. We got to see Texas A&M take another loss today against Tennessee. I don't know if you talked about that yet.
I
Man,
watched that one. I watched that one from a bar or a restaurant or whatever, and Ziegler hit quite the three at the end of the game with 5 seconds left on the shot clock after an inbound play to put that one away. That was a heavyweight match from what could be like the fifth or sixth best teams in our league, which is just absolutely insane. And
yeah. I mean, you've
they're
been
so
on this
good,
more than
so good.
anybody. You've been on this more than anybody. The Texas A&M is having a great year. They've been consistently ranked inside of the top 10, and they're probably the fifth or sixth best team in their own conference. That's just how deep the SEC is this
I
year.
can't imagine. I can't imagine being like the number 9 Texas A&M basketball team, a game like a team that has not had great history. Imagine if Auburn's number 9, we were in top 10 team, and we might be like sixth in our league in basketball because it just happens to be like the best league of all time.
I mean, I've been talking about this all year. I hate that our best basketball team ever is coinciding with the deepest SEC there ever has been. And we have one more bit of good news tonight. North Carolina won against a reeling Virginia team. So they're going to keep creeping towards that quad one line. That's going to help us out. I think they might have dropped back down to quad two, but not sure because that was a
I don't.
neutral site
I
game.
asked the chat if they would look it up for me, but they've not. They failed me, chat. You failed
Well,
me.
last
I
I
want to know
saw
what the
in the chat
record.
was the record was 16 by Kansas, and that feels right. I feel like I've
That
seen
was
that
in the
graphic
chat. I
before.
missed it
Yeah.
in the chat. I'm sorry, chat, for accusing you of not stepping up. That's great. Thank you, guys. Where is it in here? I don't see it in here.
Alabama's up 11 now.
Six, 16 is the record. 16 is
I,
the record.
I think so because they said it belonged to Kansas, and that was what I remember hearing in the
Yeah.
broadcast was that
Wow.
that Kansas team had
We
the
have
record.
4 more opportunities to beat that, or to like get 2 of the 4, and we've tied them up. Yeah,
Well,
so like, I
I'd
think
be
it's on the line.
curious. I'd be curious to see where Ole Miss falls to today. They really struggled against Vanderbilt, and then Vanderbilt pulled away late. Jackson, I know you've probably already broken this game down, but since I just got here, I have to comment on what an absolute grown man game we got from Janai Broom tonight. I think if there's any doubt, you're looking at the National Player of the Year, wearing number 4 for the Auburn Tigers. That can be put to bed. I mean, he just took this game over. Vintage Broom.
Loved it. Loved it. Yeah, we broke it down, but it's always good to hear your opinion on as well.
And did you talk about my favorite stat to end the game?
Which one?
Denver Jones and Miles Kelly, 10 for 10 from the line. That's going to make this game look like it was not as close as it was at the end there, but I don't even care. Seeing those guards step up and hit those free throws, ooh, it feels good.
It's good to hear the opposite perspective because I was saying that Denver did not have that great of a game. He had 4 personal fouls and he got 17 points, but it was kind of a little like 6 of those were free throws at the end when there was fouls. But hey, man, when you don't make those, if you missed those, it'd be a big deal. I guess I'm kind of was trying to justify how much of a clunker this game was despite scoring 82. But
Well,
some of those are free throws down the stretch.
We just keep struggling with our clean looks. And I don't know what the solution is for that. Ryan seems to think that because we're playing against these teams that are absolutely desperate, we're being a little bit more casual. But early in these games, we're getting really good, clean, open looks from 3, and they're just not going down, man. Like we're getting the shots we want. I don't know if it's everybody getting tired, if it's the midseason lull, but even when Denver is not hitting the way that we need him to, his defense just continues to be absolutely elite, and his ball handling has been a lot better. Like we saw that really fantastic drive inside where they got the goaltending call, where he essentially like faked the pass to Janai, and he's forcing teams to defend the whole floor when he's driving. I hate continuing to see him get blocked inside. I know that annoys you too when we see him go to the cup. But I think that's going to be his solution to avoiding the block, is continuing to make people think about his passing. And we're seeing that evolution in his game happen in real time.
Well, we also saw a great play from him tonight that I texted you guys about early in the game where he drove into the lane with his head up, looking for a potential pass under control, really is what I'm trying to get to. He went into the lane under control, got stopped, and passed it out to an open Miles Kelly who hit the 3. And he's had times, especially with Wendell Green and a couple other guards that weren't quite as talented. If they went in the lane, they were driving all the way. And there was no looking around or stopping or being in control. Once they turned the corner, it was either going to be blocked or it was going to go in. And that was all that was going to happen. So it was great to see Denver go under control, stop when it wasn't there, and hit the pass, which you don't always see.
Yeah, I mean, we started off early, just assists on every basket. I think we had 9 made baskets, and 5 of them were assisted shots in the opening of this game. While Georgia was held to only 2 assists, we continue to force these teams to try and play ISO ball when they're going with size. I think Georgia was missing Tyron Lawrence tonight. That's a guy that I wish had been on our roster, maybe. Just since JP Pegues, it seems like has not worked out. But overall, man, what a complete finish against, once again, just a team fighting for their tournament lives here. I mean, them, Ole Miss, Arkansas, 3 teams that if they can come into Neville and steal one from us, 2 of those teams, you're definitely in the tournament. And Ole Miss, it's going to really affect their seeding. Because you're right, all this committee looks at is the quadrant status. And a victory over the number 1 team in America is absolutely going to help boost your profile when it comes to Selection Sunday. But Jackson, we're sitting here on top of 25 wins. We are about to honor Matt Donaldson's one wish. We're going to have 4 straight years in the big dance, baby. Can you believe it?
All right. Yeah. That's something me and Matt have talked about for a long time. I saw a stat early in our podcast when we were talking that it's a surprising amount of low amount of teams that have made 4 years in a row tournaments. We got screwed by bad NCAA ruling with the Sharif Cooper stuff and the nonsense that happened in the COVID year that kept us out of the stuff. The COVID year too, where we, we're getting really hot to end the year that could have played great there. But we just got screwed by some NCAA stuff that no other school would have dealt with, especially at this point. The whole thing right now in college sports and in general in life is deny, 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 never, ever do anything voluntarily. So if it was this year, we would not miss.
It's all stuff that's been completely wiped out by NIL, right? That was the thing. It's not like we had players juicing or we were tampering with other teams' rosters or stealing signals or something like that.
Which all of this is allowed now, right?
Yeah, it was Wild West. It was accusations of players getting paid, and Sharif was ultimately ruled to be eligible, which annoys me even more.
Yeah,
but
it just took a weird voluntary ban that we shouldn't have taken probably at this point. But we had a spotlight. We had a spotlight with Bruce. So
I disagree with that. I think that brought Bruce a lot of credibility. He only had to miss the one game where Coach Wes Flanagan filled in and is the only undefeated coach in Auburn basketball history.
Steven too.
Oh yeah,
they both went 1-0. Yeah, we talked to both of them on the pod about it before Coach Flan left us.
I'm excited to see Coach Flan again when they come back into Neville.
I'm not. He knows our stuff, but
he does. But we match up with them so well, and then I think we've got 3. I'm not as scared as I was of the A&M game now. I continue to be excited. I listed that in our SEC previews, the game that I was most excited about, because I think if we go into College Station and we win that game, which we can, that signals to me that we're ready for March. Going into a really hostile environment against a talented team who we match up with pretty well. If we can go in there and perform on the road, that just says that this team is absolutely ready to kick down the door. And Jackson, you were talking about this right before I got in. I think Hoke and the boys were right on their show. You've seen some of the national media start to talk about it. We take care of this home stretch. What happens in the last 3 games doesn't really matter. We've locked up the number 1 seed because the other teams will not have the opportunity to even sniff our quad 1 record. There just won't be enough games left in the regular season.
Man, I don't know what, it's 4. I can't believe we've gotten this far. 4 games left in the season, man. It's been this good. It's been this fun.
It's been a year to remember.
We have, I'm looking at the stretch. I honestly, if we win at Texas A&M, that's amazing. If we lose, I don't care. They're really good in College Station. I don't want to play them again in the SEC tournament. If I could take a loss there and guarantee we don't see them again in the SEC tournament, I would do it just so we have a chance to win the SEC tournament. I don't care if we win or lose that one, really. It'll be amazing if we do. I care if we win in Rupp. If we lose, it's a curse, and I'm not so mad because we're cursed there. It'll suck to lose at home to Ole Miss. I don't want to do that. It'll be a wake-up call if it is. It'll be in a streak of 3 home games where 2 of them were lackadaisical, and then you have a ranked Ole Miss team. So don't lose to them because they will make you pay for the way we played against Arkansas and Georgia. And then Alabama home. Never, ever, 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 ever want to lose to Bama. I will always be upset if we lose to Bama, no matter what the rankings are. So don't lose at home against Bama. Even if we've locked up the SEC somehow by then, don't lose to Alabama because I never want to lose to Alabama, and I don't want to give them anything. I do not want to let them split the season, especially winning in Neville. just for them to go win the SEC tournament or just for them to go to the Final Four or something like that and have something on us. So we've got to win that one. I think the boys at Auburn know what the boys on the Jungle Podcast know, that game is extremely important, that we cannot end the season with a loss to Bama.
I think if you've been asleep for the last week after a huge game against Alabama, I think you get up for a ranked Ole Miss team. I think a lot of the guys on the roster still know Wes, still think about, the Flanagan's departure and what that said about our program and their program. So I don't think that you have any problem getting up for Ole Miss. I know how much this team loves to make history. They knew how big it was to win Maui. They knew how big it was to go on the road into Tuscaloosa against the number 2 team in the country with the eyes of the world upon them and take that game wire to wire. So I think you're going to have no problem getting them up for Rupp. The Texas A&M game, you're right. That's going to be a tough one. If we come out of this next week healthy and feeling right, I don't think that A&M matches up well with us. I think we've got a lot of advantage, particularly at our guard position now with size, which is an unusual thing to say for us. And then again, you're not going to have to get these guys up for the Alabama game. With the amount of trash that gets talked in this rivalry, with the amount of guys on our team from this state and from just on the other side of the border in Georgia, everybody knows what that game means. It's at home. It's the last game of the season. You don't want to leave the season with a sour taste in your mouth. But Jackson, I got to ask you, man.
Hold on. Pocket Watch and Glenn say they don't care about the SEC tournament anymore, which I find hilarious.
That's
what
exactly
are we, Kentucky?
What I was just about to ask.
What are we, Kentucky? We don't care about the SEC tournament anymore. We're too good for the SEC tournament.
Well, Jackson, think about this, man. We wrap up the end of the regular season. We've had a lot of guys getting banged up. Is it worth winning 3 games in 3 days to potentially not be ready for the NCAA tournament? I mean, you've been looking at some of the seeding tournaments and teams like Kansas and UConn and Gonzaga being on that 8 seed line. That would be the second game for us trying to get to that second weekend, our big goal right now. I don't know, man.
You just can't. You can't let your foot off the gas. You just can't let your foot off the gas. There's too much momentum. Like theoretically, the idea of like giving some people some rest or something. The rest you're going to get is from getting that double bye. So just take that. You can't let from a sports psychology standpoint, you can't do it because it puts too much pressure on those next games. So you've seen so many teams. I know last year we won the SEC tournament and then laid an egg against Yale, the underrated, CBM with the elbow or whatever. That's really why we lost the game, not because we, wore ourselves out in the SEC tournament or something like that. But so many times I think we've all seen that if you do well in the SEC tournament and get on a hot streak right before the NCAA tournament, that bodes well for your team. You want to get on that hot streak. It works better for teams that have had up and down years that happen to get hot in the SEC tournament and then take that forward with some confidence. We don't need that because we've had such a great regular season. But either way, you still want to be hot. Even if we lose in the SEC tournament championship or even any game before that, the idea is you can't let up. You can't.
Well, I will say I'll feel better if we wind up in a situation where we have to play Florida in either the semis or in the finals and we lose to them again. Because if you remember back in 2018 and our Final Four run season, that Virginia team that stole a game from us by getting away with a double dribble and a ticky-tack foul at the end of the game, they lost to, I believe it was Duke twice that year. They lost in Durham and then they lost them again for the ACC title. So they won the regular season title, but while losing to Duke, then lost to Duke again in their conference tournament, and then still went on to win the NCAA tournament. So I think you're right. I think you don't want to like be resting Broom or anything like that. But I just wonder if we're going to have the same fire for that tournament and if it's going to be as important to us, given that every game becomes a win or go home at that point.
I think if we hadn't won that last year, like this is all like looking back, like after having won it, and just because we've been frustrated in March a little bit since that Final Four run to say this kind of stuff. Because man, if you didn't win that last year, no rings, no banners last year after a really good year like that, we would have been upset. So I think we're just a little like, yeah, of the 3, of course, the Final Four is better than the SEC regular season. Of course, SEC regular season is better than an SEC tournament, but like you want one of the 3. So we'll get the regular season. All right. We hope we'll get the regular season. We got to keep playing hard. But yeah, after that, I don't care if you won the double eagle. I know you did, but I would trade that any day for an Elite 8 run or Final Four.
For Final Four, absolutely. Well, and listen, here's the thing. Florida's stretched the lead now. They're up 10 with about 4 minutes to go. Alabama's been keeping Kentucky at arm's length. They're currently up 7, but there's a lot of time left in that game, about 15 minutes left to go in the second half. Jackson, we need 2 of our last 4, and we are all but guaranteed a share of the SEC regular season championship. Just 2 games. You win 3 out of 4. I don't think anybody can touch us. I think
for solo, right?
Yeah, and then we don't have to share it with anybody. And if Alabama can do us a favor and take care of Florida in Coleman,
If Bama wins
then
out and they beat us in Neville, and that's our only loss, are they tied with us, or are
no,
they're down
no,
one still?
they're out a full game. They need us to
Okay.
lose at least one more, and they have to win out for the remainder of their schedule to tie. And that would
Thank
include
you.
a win over Florida.
Thank you, Missouri. Missouri scored 110 on them. I don't think we talked about that last podcast. If you missed that, Bama gave up what 97 to us, 98 or something, and
They
then
gave
gave up
a combined. I saw somewhere they gave a combined 206 points in the last couple of.
they have a
last couple of
really
years.
hard schedule the rest of the year. It sucks that they're holding Kentucky at arm's length right now, but they still have to play Florida as well. They have probably the toughest schedule in the SEC the rest of the way.
Mississippi
So hopefully
State again, and then I believe A&M as well before they play us.
hopefully they're beat up by the time they come into our house. So
Yeah, they're at Mississippi State. Oh no, they're at Mississippi State. They're at Tennessee. Then they have Florida at home, and they are at Auburn.
oh, is that
Alabama,
3 in a row? Is it Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, or
they are
Tennessee, Florida,
they have
and Auburn in a
they
row?
have they have number 21 Mississippi State at home on Tuesday. On Saturday, they go on the road to Knoxville against number 6 Tennessee. The following Wednesday, they're back home again with number 2 Florida, and then on Saturday, they're coming to Neville to take on the number 1 Auburn Tigers. It is a brutal stretch, and they are currently 2.5 games back. So all we got to do is hold serve, and
I would say
we're
I
in
wouldn't
really good
wish it.
shape.
I would say I wouldn't wish a schedule that hard on my worst enemy, but I absolutely do, and they are my worst enemy. So I'm really happy about this, actually.
Yeah, screw them.
So that would just be a lie. That'd be a stupid statement on my point, because I actually want the opposite. I want them to have the hardest schedule of all time. I want them to play the top 4 teams to end the season.
Listen, the nice thing is all that matters is that we take care of business. We hold serve at home, we win the SEC. We hold serve at home and we steal one in either Rupp or out in College Station, and we win it outright.
Right now, watching the other teams is fun in the SEC. All I'm cheering for is for these teams to lose, and if they don't, doesn't impact me, because we are so good this year and we were ahead by 2 games that it's fine. It's all fine. Let's not lose another game or two. Let's not test this whole theory that we could lose out or lose 2 or the 4 of these and see, because I don't want to have to watch the rest of these games and cheer for, Mississippi State to beat Bama or somebody else to do our job for us, so let's just keep winning.
No, I like controlling our own destiny. Did you bring up Ryan's shocking stat, by the way, just before we go?
3-point away and home. What was the exact stat? Because I brought it up, but I didn't know the exact one.
I'm gonna see if I can find it here in the chat. But it's absolutely brutal, the difference right now, shooting at home versus away from 3.
It really makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
We're a good 3-point shooting team, so I just can't understand what's going on in our own arena. I can't find that number in here from Ryan, but I believe
look up the Kim Palm, because I feel like we've had some stinkers these last 2. I wonder if it's impacted our.
So we're down to number 2 in Ken Palm before this game. Our offensive efficiency was still number 1, and our defense, I believe, was 12. Yeah, here it is from Ryan. Auburn in conference play is shooting 30.7% from deep at home and 40.1% on the road. Like, that is just
doesn't make any sense.
It's a differential. It's a full 10-point swing almost.
It makes no sense. It's already crazy if you told me that we were shooting like 36% away and 34% at home. I'd be like, wow, we're shooting better away. That makes no sense to me. Like 10% difference. What's going on? Check the rims.
Truly. Or just, get the guys in the gym practicing a little bit more. I'm sure Bruce has been giving them some time off.
They're still number 1. Still number 1 in the country on offensive efficiency via Kim Palm. Alabama number 2, Duke number 3, Florida number 4, Kentucky number 5, Houston number 6, like Missouri number 7. All teams we play, top 7 offenses are all teams we play this year, which is insane.
Yeah, and add another one with Purdue down there at 10.
Number 13 in defense there. Alabama's number 49th on defense. So all the joking we're having on Alabama right now, they're 49th on defense. They're still top 50 in defense with the number 2 offense. That's why they're still in the top 10, top 5. But like, we are just doing insane things at number 1 and number 13 at the same time. Well, Duke's number 3 and 4.
Take a look at that defense next to Kentucky there. That's why 66. We have a shot in Rupp. They are ranked 66th in total defense. So if we can go in there and actually play a good offensive game, we're really going to have a shot. Kentucky's big, Kentucky's long, but it looked to me today like Broom's a lot healthier.
I had to hit the defense one because I knew this is what was going to pop up. I was like looking at the offense, but I was looking at the defense's numbers. I was like, where's Tennessee in here? I'm going to have to go too far down to find Tennessee's offense rating, but hit the defense, and there they are. Number one on defense. Of course, they're number 28 in offense, which is just also another just how good this SEC man is. Number one defense, number 28 offense is great. Any other year.
This is the reason why Texas A&M is scary right there. They got the number 6 overall defense. They're just ahead of Florida. Remember, Florida held us in a cold streak for a very long time. Iowa State's kind of fallen off. They're probably off the 2 seed line at this point. I think with that loss against Houston today, they're probably going to be a 3 seed. So we might end up seeing Iowa State again at some point down the road.
No, thank you. No, thank you. They were up 20 on us in Maui, I think, at one point. That was our biggest comeback this year. Thank God we didn't have a year of that. We've had other years where we went down big and come back. We've won in all kinds of ways this year. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, it has been a year to remember for sure. That's why I bought the Maui jersey. I wanted to be able to remember this before Maui no longer means anything as a tournament.
You saving that money up? Because there might be more stuff to buy this year. Yeah. No.
Oh, listen, I will go into debt for this team. If this team can sweep the SEC titles, lock it up, man. I'm buying every shirt.
Start putting some stuff in the piggy bank for some travel or something, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, Ben. Well, any last thoughts?
Jackson, shout out to hopping on and soloing the beginning of this thing, man. It's good to survive. It's good to have another year where we've swept Georgia. Georgia's starting to get some good players in there because they got a good coach in Mike White. Hopefully we don't have to see Austin Newell again. He's an NBA type body. He's an NBA type player. I'm ready for him to get the heck out of there at 6'11". But man, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger.
Profanity says y'all should get a KenPom subscription. Well worth the $20 a year for all the additional data. Totally agree. Don't tempt us to go subscription model on this podcast because we spent too much money on this podcast, but we love it.
We don't run ads yet. We don't have a Patreon or anything like that, but we're looking into getting it. Maybe if we get it set up for the SEC tournament run, we'll give you some exclusive stuff in exchange to help us fund our KenPom addictions.
Pocket Watch is asking if we're going to go to the NCAA tournament. I went to the Final Four a couple years back. I believe, Ben, did you go to any NCAA tournaments in the last couple of years?
I bought tickets last year to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds because they were just up in Boston, and then I had to sell those tickets.
So we won't buy our tickets too early this year because we learned our lessons there. But Pocket Watch, we might have to come to the NCAA tournament if you're going to hang out with us. If you'll grab some beers with us or come chat with us in the stands or something, that'll make it a little more tempting.
Yeah, we'll do a live somewhere down there on Peachtree Street.
All right. Well, Ben, one last question. Are you having fun?
Jackson, I've never had this much fun in my whole life.
All right. Me too. I'm having a good time out here. War Eagle guys, have a good weekend. See you at the next one.
War Eagle.
Cool. We're still on live YouTube. Thanks again, guys. That's a lot of fun. Really needed you guys for this live one that was solo. Chat.
Way to step up. Great job.
Yeah, there's all these Twitch streamers and stuff, and they just talk all day long with the chat and whatever else. That's exhausting. That was like me doing it for like 30 minutes, and it was exhausting.
Hey, you got to do this after a win. All right. Twice last year, y'all made me hop on solo with a loss. I think I did like 18 minutes for the Florida game because there was nothing good to talk about. It was all bad.
Yeah. I told the text group that if we lose, I'm going to make this podcast so toxic. You'll be radioactive for 1,000 years. You'll have to put it in a vault. Thank God we won.
Oh, man. Gosh, feels good to win. 25 games. Can you believe it?
25. Man, we used to be begging for 20.
Yeah. And now we're, oh, man.
If we were Kentucky, if we were a blue blood, they'd be talking different about this team. This team is incredible.
This team is not going to get its laurels because again, last year's team was something amazing too. We came one game short of setting the record for the most double-digit wins ever. Like last year's team, when they were on, they were dominant. The difference with this year's team is even when they have a bad game, you can still barely beat them.
Well, how far off are we from like the Drew Timme Gonzaga team? Because they got so much hype with Drew Timme, and I think they had a loss or two during the regular season, and they got so much hype all the time about how great that team is. And like Drew Timme and Broom were a very good comparison, right? They're both like dominant big guys. It's
only because we've done it the once, and nobody wants to stick their neck out for us. That's what it is. Like nobody wants to say that this team is going to go the distance.
I always try to like touch my bias a little bit, or like put the brakes on my bias a little bit. But I think about Baylor. Baylor's won a national championship. They've been consistently really good in college basketball for like 10 years now, or maybe a little less than that with Scott Drew.
Yeah.
And they don't give that much love either. They don't get the
No.
benefit of the doubt. And they've won a national championship. I don't think they've gone to the Final Four other than that I can remember. But they've had some Elite Eight runs, Sweet 16s. And so like when I'm like feeling disrespected by the national media, I have to remember that Baylor's won a championship and still doesn't get quite the same respect that they deserve.
UConn didn't until Dan Hurley did the back to backs. Winning those two championships back to back finally made people think of UConn in that blue blood area. And you watch what 8, 9, 10, whatever seed line they're on this year, they're going to be everybody's trendy upset to the Final Four pick, especially if they're just
too talented. Bracket. Too talented.
If they're in our bracket, everybody's going to have that trendy like 8/1 right away.
And the team that gets too much respect that annoys the mess out of me, or one of the ones that Arkansas used to be that team. They used to get made me so mad. For some reason, Arkansas would always get disrespect for whatever reason, even though they had mediocre starts every year. Anyways, but Houston gets so much respect with Kelvin Sampson. I know they're good. They've been good. We get it. But like they get respect the way Auburn, I think, should get respect. They haven't won a championship either under Kelvin Sampson. I guess maybe they've got another Final Four I'm forgetting about, but
we're approaching that round because we had the Jabari year, and then we've had 3 years of Broome, right? The first year of Broome, it was we were 20-12 to finish the year. We had a big win at the end of the season over Tennessee to lock up our spot in the NCAA tournament. We played Houston pretty well, but that was a very mediocre, like middle of the pack team. That's a rebuild year, right? The next year we come back, you stack tons and tons and tons of double-digit wins. You win your conference tournament, and then you lay an egg in the first round. So how deep this team goes, I think if we come out of the gate next year, especially if we bring back Denver, CBM, Cheney, and we add some of these new young guys, everybody on YouTube, heads up, we're dropping a podcast Monday. We got to interview Coach Tom Parks, who's the head coach at Casper College, with a #1 junior college prospect, Abdul Bashir. He's coming in next year too. That dude is a walking freaking bucket. I mean,
and his brother is the #1 NCAA scorer, right?
At Dartmouth? We'll see. Monmouth. We'll see if he wants to leave there, and if Bruce is going to try to offer him to, because there is only one ball. But
Hockey Watch brings up Arkansas and calls them said they were a blue blood before you were born or whatever. I have a whole thing about Arkansas and their whole thing and like how they got so much freaking love from the media because they had one run in the 90s. They went to back-to-back national championship in the early 90s. That was 30 years ago or more. And they didn't have hardly any success other than that. Just like Florida won 2 SEC or 2 NCAA tournament championships with Joakim Noah and all that. No one calls them a blue blood. No one acts like that they should always be forever good. For some reason, I think it's because all these guys that are in media now, they're in like their 40s and 50s that are like heads of these media places, saw that run when they were like in college or high school, and they just can't get it out of their head. Arkansas was good for like 5 years. But even 30 years ago,
even under Musselman, they were consistently a second weekend team. I think he went to 3 Sweet 16s before he tucked his tail between his legs and ran off to Los Angeles to run USC into the ground. But it's success in March that matters, and it's so hard to do. So it's when programs do success in March consistently, that will cover so many sins in the regular season, so many bad starts.
It's annoying because like that's such a casual fan take that Arkansas went to the Elite Eight, I think 2 years in a row, or Sweet 16, maybe an Elite Eight, and recruited well. And then all of a sudden they got all this hype. And they're back in their place where they should be in college basketball, blah, 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 blah. But they do crap in the SEC or in the regular season, or they're out of conference. No. But again, somebody called me out of my ignorance in here that Houston's been in the top 5 KenPom for 4 years in a row and could be 5 years in a row this year. Thanks for calling out my ignorance there. That is extremely impressive.
Not just that, Houston has been a second weekend team, and that's the difference with where Auburn is right now. And honestly, it's the difference with where Baylor is right now. Baylor has not consistently been a Sweet 16 Elite 8 type team. They've had a couple of really deep runs, and they've been doing a lot of what we do, which is like cleaning up in their conference. They've had a couple of times where they absolutely dominated the Big 12. 2020, the COVID year, where everything got sort of shut down, that might have been a chance for Baylor to run it back. Or at the very least, they were projected as a Sweet 16 Elite 8 team. We're getting there, is what I'm saying. I think next year, with the amount of talent we could bring back and with the amount of talent that we know Bruce is bringing in, especially if Tahad stays, which I think he will. I think in the NIL era, this time of these short guards feeling like they need to leave early for the league and make money in the G League or make money in Europe, I think that time's done. I think we can keep guys like Tahad on the roster for at least a couple of years if he's not looking like high draft stock.
Nebraska won national championships in that other sport 1970, 1971, 94, 95, and 97. 5 of them. And they won him over 2 different periods. So no, Nebraska is not, or Arkansas is not the Nebraska of basketball, in my opinion. Maybe Miami could be a comp, but even then, Miami won in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, I believe. Arkansas has this one run. Yeah, I don't even know what the equivalent to the other sport would be. Somebody else that like had one big glimpse at some point. I don't know.
I would say probably Oklahoma.
Oh, well, had great success over the last 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, but not winning national championships. Bob Stoops, they used to call him.
Yeah, but Arkansas has done crap other than the 2 they won.
Yeah, but Oklahoma was treated like elite talent because they were consistently in the BCS bowls back in the day, and they were winning the Big 12 a ton. It was either them or Texas for a long time. So what I'm saying is, Jackson, we're about to start the year 4 of making the tournament. I think
it's a good point. He's talking about how Bill Clinton was hyped up over Arkansas. I forget that Arkansas was like the center of the world for a little bit there. I bet you that Bill Clinton hype is like part of the thing. Could you imagine? Like, and then on top of that, if you play NBA Jam in the 90s and you put in ARK as your initials, you can play as Bill Clinton and Al Gore on NBA Jam. And I used to do that at the bars all the time, and people would be super impressed.
Wow, what a time to be alive. All right, Jax, I got to get going, man. Great pod. YouTube, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for correcting Jackson on all of his basketball history. We'll teach Jackson ball before you know it.
All right, I'll see y'all. Bye.